What is up, Bruins fans? Today I'm bringing a clip from episode 380 of the Black and Gold Hockey Podcast, where Sam Smith and Mark Allred, joined by special guests Tom Caliuti and Kenny Kaminsky, will discuss the recent trade rumors around Bruins forward Brad Marchand.
Let's talk about, this pisses me off, Brad Marchand. I've been seeing a lot of people talking about Brad Marchand possibly getting moved to the deadline. Man, this idea of Brad Marchand getting moved absolutely pisses me off for so many different reasons. The first main reason being is that it's knocking Marchand's game. We haven't seen the same play out of Marchand recently because of the fact that he's been in trade rumors. It's kind of screwing him up a little bit. I don't know. It's like it's turning into like a mental thing for him. I mean, didn't he talk about how he didn't want to hear about it the other day in one of the pressers? He said I hate hearing stuff like that. You know, I wouldn't want to hear stuff like that either, especially after a big loss like that. Oh yeah, there's rumors you're gonna be traded. Like, stop. I don't like hearing that. And plus, on top of that, we have said this on this very show, Mark. You trade Marchand, you're probably going to a rebuild, which is what this team doesn't need to do right now. Mark, am I right on that?
Yeah, to some aspects, Sam. The optics of this conversation don't always look good, but it's a business, and I'm on the fence on this topic, to be honest. But it brings me back to our Chara returns topic we had up there, and the timing makes me think. And here I am with my conspiracy theory. Okay.
Oh, here we go.
The timing of Chara coming in as a consultant, and he's going to work with the players and this and that, and leadership and so on, almost makes me feel like if they do move Brad, that he's there as, to consult and be that type of person, that leader, and to bandage some old wounds that are going to happen. But I don't know. I'm kind of thinking that they might consider it. But I mean, it's a business, like I said, and this happens. I mean, Jacob Trouba got traded from the Rangers to Anaheim. It does happen. So I don't know. We'll see. But just the timing of Chara coming in and then these rumors, it's like, wow, it makes me think a little bit.
Dom Tiano coming in with a source. I can tell you that 2 Western Conference contenders have notified the Bruins that if Marchand goes to market, they want to talk. They're not making an official offer out of respect to Marchand. I mean,
and that's coming from Dom, so
that's a good source.
That's somebody I trust.
I trust Dom. I mean, yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I'm not saying that it wouldn't. I'm not like, okay, as much as I don't want him to get traded because of like personal fandom reasons, I would understand if they at least opened up the door to talk about it. You know, I mean, clearly there's still something there. I just don't know if that is the right message to send to the fans, to the to the team itself, is that everyone's replaceable. I think that's kind of the message they're sending if they trade Marchand, and I don't know if that's a good message to send. This fan base, 1 second. This fan base I want to finish my thought and I'll let you go. This fan base is very panicky on its own right now with Marchand here. I'll be the first one to tell you I'm a part of that panicky fan base. Okay, I'll admit that. Okay, but I also think at the same time, if they're like that with him here, what are they going to be like when they move him? Like, there might be legitimate riots. I'm not even kidding. Okay, they're like, people will get legitimately angry, especially if they don't get a massive return back from Marchand either. You know, like it's a legitimate thought. People are not going to be happy about this, and I don't think that the fans are already not happy with the team right now. I don't think that's the message I'd want to send it by trading away one of the fan favorites. It's just, I know it's a business, but also you got to think the fans drive in business too. They drive in money. So when people, I just got a Marchand jersey, like for Christmas. I just got one. That would not That would not make me happy if they were to go on and trade him. I would not be happy at all. Mark?
Yeah. I mean, it's a tough one because a lot of folks that I talk to and hear about is we need a culture change. And that might be coming from a lot of players as well, but bringing in Chara, we talked about earlier, doesn't really change that old feeling. Yeah, I mean, it would be tough and the fans probably wouldn't like it, but if you have a solid path to be better in future seasons, then you act on what you believe. I'd be a little upset, but I wouldn't be, rioting, burn the place down, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. I'm all about what the future of this team is going to look like. And it starts by having your own draft picks and building your own system up again. So if he moves and you bring back a second and a third, a first, second, whatever, I mean, that's good value for a player that's been a Boston Bruin for a long time. And, I think he can garner a decent return.
Yeah. It would just suck, I like, yeah, like the future would be like, yeah, we have a ton of draft picks to work with. That'd be great, but it would just suck seeing a guy like Marchand go, Kenny?
Yeah, I said it last week. I don't really want to see Marchand play in any other jersey out there, really. And but at the end of the day, this is a business. He has a ton. I wouldn't say a ton, but he has value. And I disagree with if he goes, then we have to start a rebuild. I think you don't start a rebuild when you have guys like McAvoy, Swayman, and Pasta tied down for that long. I just think like you can. It's not like we trade Brad Marchand and then now we're in an official rebuild. Another one of my things is who's going to be taking the reins after Marchand if we trade him? Who's going to step up into that captain role? Mm-hmm. And I'm glad I got to talk here before Tom because I wanted him to kind of touch on this a little bit. But throughout the season, I've heard there's been some issues, especially when post game with talking with leadership, and then only a few players that come out and when they say leadership, who really is leadership? Is it the guys with letters on their sweaters, or is it guys who have a voice in the locker room? I don't really know. But, hearing that about McAvoy, about, how he hates losing, it is really kind of a lost thing. And I know Sam said, people don't like to lose. Yeah, people don't like to lose, but some teams like Buffalo, they kind of get, it doesn't really affect them when they lose. They lose and they go in the locker room. Well, there's 11 straight, whatever, let's try to break it next time. So, hearing that makes me feel a lot more optimistic to give him the seat if Brad Marchand was going to leave. So I think, last week I was like, no, you cannot trade Brad Marchand. But, now thinking it over and hearing what I've heard, like, I'm not going to be crushed. I'm not going to be burning down TD Garden over it. It would suck to lose him. And I think when you have a player like Marchand who is so loved by the organization and so loved by the fans, I think Don Sweeney is going to be careful, because this is going to be another make or break for his job. Imagine he trades Marchand, the fans get pissed, and then we get nothing in return. I mean, it's going to be over for his job. So I think he's going to be a lot more careful when he's, looking at trades for Marchand. So listen, if we can get a good return on Marchand, I wouldn't hate seeing him leave. I mean, actually, I would hate seeing him leave, but it's sometimes things just need to be done. And if he's really not adding to the hockey and he's really not adding to the leadership, then I don't know what to say. I mean, it's going to be hard to keep him when other teams see a value in him that we're not getting currently.
Dom just spilled the beans. Marchand's situation is like the Bork situation. Decision is all his. Funny that the same team is interested as well. Of course they're interested. And after 15 years of not winning one, Brad Marchand raises a Stanley Cup in Denver.
Can you imagine Gary Thorne coming back just for that?
We'd love to play with his buddy Nathan McKinnon.
Yes. Yeah.
Marchand
did they better play Crosby, McKinnon, and Marchand together at the Four Nations.
I cannot wait to watch this tournament. I will tell you that. I cannot wait to watch it. I'll be streaming all the games on YouTube, all the Four Nations stuff. So it should be fun. I cannot wait to watch it. It should be entertaining, and I do want to see Marchand play with Crosby and McKinnon. If they don't do that, it's a missed opportunity. I'm telling you what, missed opportunity. But Tom, Marchand getting traded, a possible situation. What are your thoughts on that?
Dom kind of stole my thunder. I was going to say two things need to happen first. Marchand has to say yes. Marchand has to give permission. And the return has to be so good that there can't be any argument over whether or not you won or lost the deal. I think trading your captain sends, in any situation, I guess not in any sport, but in any situation, I don't like the idea of trading your captain, especially when he's been somebody that's been the face of the organization for so long. I think it sends the wrong message to the locker room, and I don't know if there is enough leadership there if he were to leave to kind of right the ship. Again, Mark, maybe your conspiracy theory is right, and that's why they brought Chara back in. But I really think this trade only happens if Marchand says yes and Don Sweeney gets blown away. This has been the first year where we've gotten multiple fire Sweeney chants. They were faint in the game against Winnipeg, but they were there. And one of the games I covered earlier this year, they were quite loud. So he can't afford, especially after this offseason and signing Zadorov and Lindholm, to lose a trade with one of your franchise icons. And so I really just feel like, personally, I love Brad Marchand. I hate to see him go. But from a business perspective, I think there's such a risk in trading him, because if you lose the trade, you're going to lose the fan base even further. And if the rest of the year goes to crap and the locker room falls into turmoil, you've hit DEFCON 1. And now you're talking about potentially a bigger rebuild. So if Brad wants to go and says, hey, let me play with Nathan McKinnon, let me win a cup, and Colorado blows you away, a couple of picks, a couple of top prospects, it might be a deal that you can't refuse. But unless that exact situation comes down the pike, I don't see them moving Marchand, and I don't think it would be smart.
Yeah, like I'm with you. If it absolutely blows them away, it. But again, that's one of your top guys in the history of your franchise. I mean, it would be Ray Bourque 2.0. It would be. And do the Bruins want a Ray Bourque 2.0? That's a legitimate question. He's been here for a while. Trading him somewhere to the West. And what happens if, hypothetically, he goes out to the Rocky Mountains and wins a Stanley Cup? What message does that send?
Here's one to think about. If he does get traded, do you want players back? Or do you want picks?
It honestly,
because you're also saving on salary.
Just depends on what the packages are for me to have an answer. Like if you were to put two packages in front of me, like let's say, okay, so Dom says that Vegas and Colorado, imagine them outbidding each other for Marchand. Great. Let's say Vegas puts out a hell of a package and Colorado puts out a hell of a package. I would want to see both packages and like pick one on what I'd rather want. You know,
well, who would Vegas realistically give up if they're giving up a rostered player? You're not getting anyone on their first line.
Well, no.
Colorado, you're probably not getting Martin H.S., who would be the starting point if I were the GM. So I just feel like at that point they're giving you picks and prospects. I don't think you're getting a rostered player back for Brad Marchand.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm going. It's like you don't want to send out $6 million to take on $6 million again.
Well, yeah, no. That would be stupid.
Right, right. So it would be picks and younger prospect.
Yeah, but also the picks are a risk. Like I said earlier, like I don't trust Don Sweeney with these picks. I don't know. And you trade a guy like Brad Marchand, you get 7 picks, and then you hit on 1 or 2 of them, and then it's like, they're middle 6 guys. I mean, did you really win the trade? Who knows? And then also we have to wait how many years to see a return on investment for a team that needs, guys that are ready to go in Providence and, need to be 1 or 2 years out now. Like, they need guys to start filling in right now. So
I'd rather see the Bruins make a move on a guy like Trent Frederick or Charlie Coyle. See if you can replenish your prospect pool or your draft pick pool that way. Coyle, I think Coyle, you could sneaky get a first-round pick if their bidding war started. But I think if you were to dump the 2 of them, you could pretty much replenish your pick pool. And if you wanted to, if you decide like, hey, maybe we don't want to buy, but we want to make a run at this. If you get 5 picks, package 3 of them and get somebody you like, because then you've salary out the door, and now you have a chance to rebuild. I'd rather them make smaller moves like that than do something as drastic as trading Marchand and leaving the rest of the roster intact.
Yeah, I like that thought more. Trading more like smaller guys, if you will, to the team and try to replenish than trading. Oh yeah, let's trade Marchand and get a bazillion picks back. I mean, I would not be a fan of that. Urho Vakanainen named to Finland 4 Nations. Is that wow?
Yep.
Huh. Well,
former Boston Bruins legend.
The vacuum is going to the big time.
He took a not so good penalty yesterday against the Bruins. It was the cross check in the first period. Not a great penalty for him to be taking.
And didn't that result in a power play goal too?
What's that?
Didn't that result in a power play goal too?
Yeah, they took another penalty later on when Lindgren decked Poitras, and then McAvoy scored on the 5-on-3.
Oh, he took the penalty before Lindgren.
Vakanainen was the first one.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I'm just more thinking about the fan reaction more than the actual reaction in the locker room. I don't think that's going to.
You can't. I mean, listen, if it's something like if you can get a good deal, then you really can't worry about the fans. But honestly, I'm going to stand by this. I think we could sell and still make the playoffs. Like, the teams ahead of us, we're all kind of doing the same thing right now where we're still trying to find our game here. But like if you trade Frederick or Coyle and you get picks, like I think we would be better off as a team if Merkulov came up and saw some games. Now, I don't know when he gets up here if it's going to be the same, but I mean, it's not like Frederick or Coyle are really, blowing me away anyways. So, like I said, I think we could still sell, get a lot of picks, and then, just play. And I think we could still have a good chance. And then at least then, if you sell and you don't make the playoffs, well, it wasn't really a waste because we did get stuff in return. But, you can't buy and then not make the playoffs and then lose out on all that draft capital. That would just be a colossal failure for this team. And this would put them back years in development.
And just to build off of that, Kenny, I think what you do is if you trade a Coyle or a Frederick and you bring up a Georgi Merkulov, for example, worst thing that happens is you miss the playoffs and he falls flat on his face. Well, at least you have an answer now on your young players. There's no more fan base continuing to question, why are these guys still in Providence? Why aren't you giving them a chance? The worst case scenario is you miss the playoffs, and you might be doing that anyway. So you might as well get some draft capital and see what your young guys can do while you're going down. While the ship's going down, you might as well get some stuff done, right? There's no point in rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. Let's see if we can figure some stuff out.
Yeah, and I think with that, right, so Merkulov gets called up, and then it's really, if you give him a good chunk of games, it's no longer his decision or desire to leave, really. Like, listen, he's on pace for another 70 points in the minors, and you're telling me this guy only got 7 games in 4 years of playing with the team? That's the type of stuff that you see a guy, like, just go to Russia because he's not signing again and sitting in the minors for another few years. But at least, you give him the time, you see if it works out. If you want to give him another look, you sign him for a year. And then the Bruins have all the all the cards. They have everything that they need right there. They know what they're getting. They know if they want to give him, maybe a bridge deal and see if he could play another year, or they could just say, nah, he's not for us. We're going to let him go to free agency. So if you do that, you get your answers, and then, you make the playoffs or you don't make the playoffs. At this point, it's whatever. This team isn't really a Stanley Cup team anyways. And I know some people feel that they would rather their team lose or not make the playoffs, and then instead of losing in the first or second round. And I'm kind of in that boat when it comes to these picks, because I think this draft is going to be pretty loaded, especially when it comes to that number 10 and the number 20 pick. I think, those middle of the round picks are going to be really good. And I think there's some names that could really benefit Boston. So I agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see what they decide to do. There's still about they're just over a month until the deadline, so they still have plenty of time. And from what we're seeing, the NHL, they're not waiting for March 7th. We've already seen some blockbuster trades. JT Miller, Mikko Rantanen, and Joel Farabee getting moved. We've seen some bigger names getting moved here in the past week or so. Don't be surprised if the Bruins hop in and maybe make a move during the Four Nations break. That's going to be a mini trade deadline, 2 weeks. That's going to be your time to reevaluate your team and say, hey, we have 2 weeks here. We can make something happen if you want to make something happen. We can either I don't think they should do this, but let's say, all right, these 2 weeks are our chance to build up a playoff team. Or, these 2 weeks are a chance for us to say, hey, all right, let's evaluate the first 55 games. Let's figure out, okay, who needs to stay, who doesn't, who has no moves, who doesn't. Let's try to figure out contracts. Let's try to figure out this and that. Let's try to get stuff done. Let's try to make a couple of moves here to either build the future or try to win. Either way, they're going to use that 2 weeks to do something. A lot of teams are going to be using that 2 weeks to do something, which is why I think that they're starting to make those moves now leading into the Four Nations face-off. So definitely could be an interesting 2 weeks coming up if they decide to make a big move or not, or a couple of smaller moves, which could lead to a bigger picture.
Like what you saw? Be sure to come back next week to episode 381 of the Black and Gold Hockey Podcast, where we will discuss the upcoming Four Nations face-off. See you then.